Okay, hello. Another week, more lessons. I hope you guys like the topic this week. The lessons this week, we are going to, practice reading, writing, speaking, all of that, listening. We're going to do that, but we're going to focus on a topic like food and health, right? So, food and health. Uh, this week we'll talk about we'll practice what we've been learning before, expressing ourselves, saying things that you like, dislike, but also we're going to practice talking about how you use English to talk about facts and scientific information. So, things that you're not talking about your opinion, you're not saying what you think, but you want to make sure that other people understand that you're telling them something that's really important and that is based on, a scientific fact. So we'll just start off like we normally do. I'll just show you some vocabulary just to make sure we're all kind of on the same page. Some of you may already know these words and use them all the time. I just want to review them in case there are any students who are not sure or do not know. So health. When we talk about health, health means in English like you have no sickness, or there is no hurt in your body. There's nothing um, sick or broken in your bodies. Your body, does what it needs to do to stay alive. Health also, when we use it in English, it's not just saying, health is not having sickness. Health is also just talking about how your body is. That's why we use things like good health or bad health. Because health is just talking about what's going on in your body, physically, but also like inside your body. So the next word is diet. Now, diet just means the food that you eat. You will hear this a lot in America. Like people will say things like, I don't know if you've heard this word before, but paleo diet. What's the other one? Keto diet. There's lots of things that we describe as a diet, and it means a certain way that you eat. But diet, when we say diet, it just means the food that you eat. Some people think that there are good or better diets, and some people think there are bad diets. Diet is just a word to describe the food that you eat. It's just the term we use. All right, next word is alternative. Now we're going to be using this to talk about food and health. So when we use the word alternative and we're talking about food, it just means a different choice or another choice. So, for example, if you go to a restaurant to go get some food and they say, your meal can come with a side of French fries, or the alternative is a salad. It means that you have the choice between having a side of French fries or having a side of a salad. So when we use alternative, um, for example, if somebody said, pick the healthy alternative, they're just saying that there's a choice and you should choose the healthy one. Or if for example, some people don't want or cannot have certain foods like meat or gluten. And so people will say, oh, we have this alternative to meat. Tofu is an alternative to meat. It's just a different choice. It's another option. All right, the word beverage. Beverage. So, beverage is just something you drink. That's all it means. So it can be tea, it could be coffee. Beverage is anything that's liquid, right? That's like water, that like moves like water, that can spill. That's a beverage, right? So the next word that we have is called saturated fats. Now this one, I wasn't sure how to describe it because it's used all the time in English, and we use it to like on our food labels. And it's really, the word comes up a lot when we talk about health and food. So saturated fats, let's break down the word. So saturated means that there is a lot of something. So when people say my shirt is saturated with sweat, it means there's so much sweat, it's like dripping off of the shirt. Like you could squeeze it and a bunch of sweat would fall out. So saturated just means so much that there is too much. And fats, um, now we can use fat as a word to talk about something or someone, right? Like you could say that is a fat dog, right? And you're describing how the dog looks. But fat is also a noun because it's something that is inside our bodies, right? And it's inside all animals, right? I think maybe mammals, but all animals. All animals have fat in them, and it's like something that you can touch, right? It's like I have fat on my arm, I can squish it, right? So fat, and when you put an S at the end, fats, it's talking about it as a noun. So what is saturated fats? Well, saturated fats is talking about what scientists have decided is unhealthy fat. So there's fat that we get that is what we would call natural. So fat that we didn't make. um, uh, so for example, avocados. Avocados have fat in them, right? Um, but when you eat things like potato chips have fat that is added to them so that it's just a lot of fat, right? So that's what saturated fats are. So next one is sodium. People will say, oh, this food is high in sodium. Sodium just means salt. When you're talking about food, it just means salt. Now the next word, calorie. So calorie, what does calorie mean? People use this word all the time when they talk about food and health. Calorie is the measurement for the energy we get from food. So we get energy when we eat food, right? So I eat food so I can like move around. But the way that scientists measure it is called a calorie. And a calorie is a way to measure the energy that we get from food. Another kind of measurement we use is like centimeters or inches or feet or yards. We use lots of different things as measurements. So calorie is a measurement just like, a pound or 1 inch. It's just instead of measuring like area or space, it's measuring the energy that we get from food. So that's what a calorie is. Now the next word, portion. The word portion means part of a whole. So when we say portion, think of it as like this pie chart or like a cake. This piece of cake is a portion, part of a whole of something else. Pie charts they have portions. There's a green portion, a blue portion, and a red portion. So portion just means it's one piece of something that's a whole thing, right? All right, the next word, cholesterol. You hear this word all the time. It's a big, long word, but now that you've seen it, you'll learn it and you'll just know it every time you see it or hear it. So this word is cholesterol. So cholesterol is something we talk about when we talk about health and eating and food. Cholesterol is a substance. It's something that is in our bodies. And if there is too much of it, it causes heart disease. So that's why cholesterol, people talk about it a lot when they talk about health. Next word is nutrient. So, I spelled substance wrong. So nutrient is a substance, right? Kind of like cholesterol. Like it's a something that is you eat and can have in your body, but it's also something that's in things like food. Like for example, and I'll just grab them. Like I had this ginger. This ginger has nutrient in it, right? It's inside of it. It's something that's in it. So a nutrient is a substance that helps our body grow and survive. So nutrient, you can think of it as something that you need to have in your body in order to keep growing and keep on living. Now, the next one I wanted to talk to you about is because you see this a lot when you talk about health and food too. Nutrient dense. So we just talked about the word nutrient, right? Nutrient is like things that you put in your body that's inside of food that helps you to survive and grow. But when somebody uses this kind of phrasing, this kind of word, putting together these two words, nutrient and dense, it means that there's a lot of nutrients for a small amount of food. So when you see this word nutrient dense just means a lot of something for a small amount of something else. So, like if I wanted to say, I live next to a dense forest, that means that the forest has a lot of trees for not a lot of area. So you could just have one little area and there would be a ton of trees there. That's what dense means. So when you put it at the end of a word like this with this little dash, let's see. I'm trying to think of another one. People dense. It means that there's a lot of people for not a lot of space. So when we say nutrient dense, or you could say fat dense, it means that there's a lot of it for a small amount of area. Okay, so the last one that we're going to talk about is the word nutrition. Now you may be thinking, didn't we just talk about this? Well, kind of. So the word we talked about before is nutrient, right? Nutrient. But you'll see this word nutrient, nutrient, nutrient. And then we have it spelled a little differently. It's nutrition, nutrition. So instead of saying nutrient, we say nutrition. And nutrition, by changing the ending of the word, the suffix, it changes the meaning. So nutrition, it just means food. But nutrition, right, is also the science that studies nutrients. So that's why it's kind of a different word, is because it could just mean food. Instead of the thing that we eat that keeps us healthy, it just means food, or the science, right, of studying nutrients and what they do. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about are two suffixes that we've talked about before, maybe, and also have seen before. So just putting a Y at the end of something, like for example, salty, fatty, healthy. It makes, instead of a y sound, it makes a e sound. Salty, fatty, healthy. So you'll see that this word is salt. This word is fat. This word is health. And all we do is we put a Y at the end, right? So when you put a Y at the end like that, it changes the word to an adjective. So it takes the word salt, that's a noun, right? It's a thing that you can hold and touch. It changes it to an adjective that means it's like the word that it's next to. So when you say something is salt, it means that it's actually the tiny white salt. But if you say that something is salty, so if I said that is salt, I'm saying that it's actually salt, like the little grains that you put in your food. If I said that is salty, it means that I'm saying that it tastes like salt. It seems like it is salt, like it has a lot of salt in it. I'm tasting the salt. So, you know, if you put a Y at the end of a word, it means that you're describing it, right? This tastes salty. This tastes healthy, right? You could say, well, that looks health. It doesn't really make sense, but if you said that looks healthy, it means you're describing it that it looks like it's good for you. Now, the other one I want to talk about is ARY. You can put it at the end of the word, and I put it at the end of this word that we just learned, diet, right? Diet is the way that you eat. Now, if we put these little words ARY at the end, what does it do? So if we put that at the end, it changes the word into an adjective again, right? A word describing something. And it means that it's related or connected to. So if somebody said, you need to change your dietary habits. So habits is what you do all the time, right? Now, dietary means that they're talking about, oh, the way that you eat. So the habit that you need to change is the way that you eat. Dietary. So that's what this suffix does. This ARY is it means that it's related or connected to uh, the word that you put before it, right? Dietary. Um, and that's why we use it because it helps us to describe things, use words that are usually nouns, things that you can't use to describe another thing, and we turn it into a word that can be used to describe something else. And so that's our the end of the vocabulary lesson today. Um, we'll keep practicing this week on talking about this, reading about it. We'll do some reading tomorrow on some like food and health. And then later this week, we'll kind of work on helping you to talk about things that you learned from science and then how to talk about it with other people so they know that you're talking about a fact and not your opinion. Okay, so that's it, and I will see you in the next lesson.